Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this stream on writing a programming language in Rust. So, the language that I'm developing is a kind of a research language basis that I'll be building other languages on top of. Main one that I'm hoping to develop next is provisionally called Ash. It's going to act as an alternative to Bash scripting. So, trying to import the ergonomics of Bash, but combine them with more, the more ubiquitous C-style syntax that we see in a lot of languages these days. And the tools that I'm using to work on this at the moment anyway are Mosh, which I use to connect to my development server, Tmux to manage sessions, Vim to edit code, and then I have a pane on the right hand side in Tmux where I run entr, which just rebuilds the project and reruns all the tests whenever I make a change to any of the test files. So today I'm hoping to work on, iterative loops. So that's while and for. And where I am at the moment with the project is I actually have most of the features implemented previously on a different instance of this project, but I didn't have tests then. So I'm essentially importing all those changes one at a time into atomic commits. But now whenever I add one, I'll be adding hopefully more comprehensive tests with each one and a bit of documentation and all the rest of it. So let's dive in. So I'm going to jump into the parser section, which is where I usually start, and I'll find the while statement. So let's go here. And we'll have to add an AST production for that. And I'll also need to update the lexer to handle the new keyword. So let's see, we have while there. And I was looking for it in the wrong file. Yeah, so we have true. I'm gonna put in while there. And that should be it for the lexicon parsing. So what I'll want to do next is update the, and please forgive the strange naming conventions I have here. Essentially anything that ends with an starts or ends with an underscore doesn't get it, well, it gets ignored by Git. So I'm a bit messy with my Scratch files, but let's jump into mostly what I'm working off of is the _1 files here, which contain the most up-to-date copies of the code in general. Oh, and I'll need to start bumping all the copyright messages starting tomorrow. That'll be what it is. So where are we? I have statement while. Oh, again, I was looking in the wrong file. That will go under if. So while condition. And so I want to add new context here, and I'll rename this to make the distinction clear. Cond now goes here. Did this? Oh, I was like, where's the loop? Where's the while loop? But it's in the outer section, and I'm using a break in the middle, so that explains that. And we don't have support for those just yet. And will this need to change any? So, oh yes, so what this will do is at the moment, I'm just comparing it to what is in the if statement handler, and I think what's there should be fine for now. So yes, the parser needs to be updated with while as well. And yeah, that bodes well because it means that there aren't many other errors, I think. And I don't think there are really any new, shall we say, leaf errors. There's some new intermediate errors defined in this, but no new runtime errors that I need to test specifically for, I think. So let's go ahead, and so we've tests here for if else's, so I think loops can probably get their own file. I won't have a separate file for ifs and or whiles and fors, I think. So let's see. So we'll just do a fairly simple test here. So we would be expecting the output to be 0, 1, 2, 3. And I'll print 3 at the end because... oh, I'll need to start that again because that's a new file that it hasn't detected before. But it should output 3 at the end because that's what should break it out of the loop. So that's an error because it's using CodeGen to name the file or name the test function while, which is a reserved keyword in Rust. So what could I call it instead? Oh yeah, so that's passed. Any other tests that I could do? I think that's fine for the moment. I'll add some documentation. And I'll basically copy the test that we have over here. That should be more or less it. I also realized recently that I should be updating the cargo version. I haven't been doing that. Haven't been doing that for a while. So whether I just bump it now to account for all the versions that I've skipped, I guess so. Might as well start doing the practice now. So let's go ahead and count the different features. So test for lexer errors, parser errors, test for comments. That's a correction. So that was probably the first feature. So that's 0. I'll say up until that point is 0.1, and so this 0.2, 0.3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, let's stay on 10. That a new feature? Yeah, I'll say 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we'll say this is version 19. Check the naming on something quickly. What was that? I think it was value. No, it was AST. Content statements. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, that's while loops added. Next we have for. Okay, and for in this language is explicitly for iterators, I guess. I was actually thinking earlier today that it could be neat to have, so with for, you often have an iterator form, which is there are no semicolons in the condition, or you can have it with an initializer, I guess an increment at the end, and then a condition in the middle. But for an iterator, you could also, and I think it applies not just to iterators, but there are potentially other circumstances where you don't need the increment, but the initialization and the condition is useful. So I was thinking of allowing for loops to have those. Let's see. So I'll take a look at the parser. And what does a for loop look like? So it looks like for something in something. Yeah, and it'll allow decomposition on the left hand side. And at the moment, the iterator can only be a list. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it that way for the moment. And then if I need that other functionality, I'll add it in at that point. Until then, you'd use the while loop for increments, but then I will have a range function that will allow you to do standard 0 through n iterations. Yeah, I'll just keep going the way it's implemented at the moment, and then address the extra necessary features later if need be. this value to pairs function, wherever that's defined, returns the index value pairs in V if V represents an iterable type, and an iterable type is only a list at the moment. So let's go ahead and copy that in. Now the result here will possibly be an error. Oh, iterators can be lists, objects, or strings. How can it be an object? Okay, yeah, key values. That makes sense. Okay, in this case, I would be a U size, and that's why there could be an issue with casting. Okay. Not sure there are any other properties in those types at the moment. So we have a new error variant now. And I think that's it for that. Oh yeah, I need to add support for the in token. So let's see, in the parser, and the lexer. missing the backup for that. So, hi Nick Vorsa, welcome to the channel. And so, let's see. Again, very messy code history here, but I think the old version of this was in value. And we're looking for a new string. And we'll just grab that. So more or less as would be expected, but I couldn't remember the exact details. So what's str defined as? Oh, it's defined as a vector of bytes essentially. Then we have main 198, and we need to add for and in. Okay, that seems to be compiling, so now we can go ahead and implement some tests. Now, I don't have destructuring implemented yet, so I'll be outputting essentially list pairs, but that should be all right for the moment. For in list for let's say iterator value in 1, 2, 3 will print IV, and actually I don't have a way of indexing values at the moment either, but at least the output should be predictable. So this should be 0, 1, 1, 2, and 2, 3. So the left hand value is the increment, I guess, and the second is the actual value. So we'll have IC there. Now the only thing about this, well, I was gonna say this will, in theory, this would be non-deterministic if I was using a hash map to define objects. I'm actually using a B tree, so the construction of the B tree and iteration through it should be possibly be deterministic. So let's try this. So let's try that. Okay, so we have a couple of errors, so let's see what failed. So yes. So first of all, the strings don't get quoted in the output. I'm not sure whether that's good or bad, but it's just the way the language is implemented at the moment. I mean, I think it makes sense when the string is bare that you won't output the raw string, or you won't output the inverted commas, but when you're kind of pretty printing an object like this, could be useful. Not sure. But again, not something that's too big of an issue at the moment, especially since this is the research language part of the project. So 136, yeah, there are definitely too many lines, but I'm also not going to change that just because of the nature of these functions. I think there isn't, even though they're big functions, they're not too complex. They're really just acting as lookup tables for the most part, and each individual node that's being handled isn't too complex in general. The main one that's complicated, I think, is function calls, and maybe that could be extracted at some point, but for the moment I think I can leave it as is. So before I forget, I'll bump cargo. It's a new feature, and that'll actually bump the lock file as well, which didn't happen in the last commit. So let's see, loops has been updated. I want to update features. And I think that's... Oh, I didn't commit the last... So add support for while loops. fors and whiles implemented. Now I need loop control, I guess I can call it, which is breaks and continues. So let's see. First, that needs to be added into the token section. And the Lexer. Does it need to be added? Yeah. Whoops. I've run out of disk space. Yeah, this was happening recently when I think I have too many Docker images. Okay, I'm gonna pause the stream for a few minutes while I reclaim some disk space. Just a moment. Okay, I did a Docker system prune and got about 2 gigs of space back. I will find out later whether I removed anything that I won't have wanted to remove, but them's the breaks. So let's see. Now I can save this file, and let's see. I have added that to the AST, so I guess I need to add it to the module system next. I'll just bump this now to remind myself. Yeah, and so I just need to add that to mod. So 144. Okay, that's a pretty neat implementation. Okay, I'll have to do the same here, I think, for a break outside loop. So I'll need to add that to while and for and call. Yeah, that makes sense. So while will be, yeah, very straightforward. That's cool. Just call break, and same for the for loop. But then in a call, it's going to, like in a val prog, going to turn into an error. Glad you're still tuning in. So let's see. Break outside loop. And that should be more or less it for the break implementation. I'll have to add a new error, and I'll have to add location information to the break. So that'll be added to the AST, and that's more or less it. So let's see, I'll jump to AST and add location there. Should I group those? Because I'm grouping return under function. I think I will group them. Again, one of those little things that I spend entirely too much time thinking about, but it is what it is. So let's see. Forgot to actually add in parsing instructions for the break. And so that's where location will go, and we want to add a new more or less it. I think I forgot to add in the error unwrapping in main in my last commit. Yeah, I did. So let me see what val errors got added in the last commit, and I'll add them here. Source of val mod 282. Oh yeah, I'll need to add location there as well. So escape break. Did I see? Oh yeah. I'll have to see what happens there. I'm putting too much, I'm working on too much at the moment now. I'm going to forget what different things I was working on. Okay, so this is, yeah, if there's any escape, then we break out there. That's okay. And pub enum escape, yeah. So break here. And then I will add in the old unwrapping here, amend the previous commit with that new stuff, and then I can continue with the current commit. Could be hard at work there. Eval for iter failed. Interesting. Oh, because I have it twice. How about that? Oops. Luckily I hadn't pushed the branch, but I could always do a force with lease anyway. And I'm the only one working on it anyway, so it wouldn't be such a big deal. But let's see. Now that I've that done, I can add. Are there any new wrap errors? There actually aren't in this one, which is kind of a first. But I guess this new feature is so simple that it doesn't warrant a new wrapping error. So let's see. I'll actually have to do a specific. I won't be able to actually check whether the iterator or value is is one way or the other. I'll have to check both at the same time because I don't have indexing or destructuring at the moment. So let's see. So if iv is equal to 1, no, it'd have to be 2, 3. Then I'll break out. Let's see how this works. I'll start staging the changes anyway. Okay, so breaking out of the for loop didn't work anyway. And that's the reason we have tests now, because I wouldn't have found that otherwise. I assume that break isn't applying just to the match because it's different to a switch. There's no fall through in Rust matches, but I better just confirm that hunch. Rust match break. Yeah, so by default, yeah, break outside of a loop. So in that case, the break should be applying to this for loop. So I'm not so sure why that's not working. Which is the first in a while. Let's just do this. Okay, so it didn't output test, so there's a chance that that didn't evaluate a break. Let's just double check that test again. What a complicated bug that happened just there. Truly a mystery as to why that could have happened. I think that had to do with cosmic rays. Cool. So we'll keep staging the changes. Oh, I need to add in features and... Oh, did I forget to add in a for loop feature as well? No, I added in for and strings. used outside of a loop. Yeah. Simplified that. Updated those. Breaks can be used exit liberally. Yep. Break while break for. Cool. And add support for break. Did I bump the cardinal? I did. Cool. And that brings us up to an hour. So I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, let's see what's next. I guess continue. And after that, oops. Right, add indexing. Yeah, so that might make the looping test a little simpler as well anyway. Cool. So I'm going to take a quick break, grab a glass of water, and when I come back, I'll be continuing with continues. See you shortly. Alright, so let's get back into it. So, adding support for continue, I'm guessing this will be fairly similar to break. And I'll want an error for that too. And that should be just about it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, missed that part of here. And I'll also need to update main. Let's see. So I think this is most of the gap when it's recompiling is to do with actually compiling the ladder-pop parser. Again, the more productions you have, the longer the compilation is going to take. So let's see. Features, oops, I guess. So I'm missing a pattern in main. I thought I caught that. Yeah, it's just behind. So we have break while, now we have continue while. So this should output, let's see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll go continue 4. Okay, let's try that. Let's see where we are now. I'll also need to add to the features file. Okay, so we've got a test error. We've got 2, 3, 4 test errors, so a couple of them, in fact, are any of the loop tests passing? So let's see, continue for, first of all. Oh, that could be it. And the same for features. Okay, let's see where we are now. Oh dear. Uh-oh. That is looking like a deadlock issue. So let's see, test loops. Okay, so what tests are passing? We have continue for is passing, but continue while is not. So let's see. So we'll go continue while. I want to check out what's the error there. Oops, continue while. Okay. Ah, yes. Okay. That isn't the mysterious kind of insidious issue that I thought it could be. Yeah, not quite a deadlock issue after all. So let's see, that's going to be, instead of 0, that's going to be we can move ahead. Indexing, let's see. Index, and there are only two types, so we'll go ahead and, so it's precedence for So for some reason call is precedence 5 here, but precedence 4 over here. Let's just see if we can modify that without a conflict. Waiting for lock file on build directory. Okay, ooh, there we go. Yeah, so that seems to work. So I'll bump that precedence level, and speaking of bumps, I will also update cargo just so I don't forget that. And so I want my, oh, I already have support for bracket open and close, so don't need to add those to the parser, just need to add a new AST node for indexing. Location could be a bit confusing there because location is what I call the place where errors occur as well. And the reason I used this term instead of, for example, index, is that this is an index if we're accessing a list, or it's a key if we're indexing an object. Position could also work, but I feel like location makes slightly more sense. I think I'll just leave it as it is. So, is this an issue with creating the location information here as well. Okay, and so with that we can jump to so we don't have support for mutability at the moment, so we'll remove those references. Whoops. Lists and objects are tuple variance at the moment. And let's see. So here we're evaluating an expression to I 64-bit integer. I think there is a function I can use here instead. So yeah, eval expression to string. This seems to be an assignment. As opposed to a lookup. I copied the wrong section of the code. Okay. Yeah, so there's in the old instance of this module, there is there's actually 3 references to expression index. One is in eval expression, but then there are 2 others to do with binding. So for the moment, I'll just be concerning myself with evaluating expressions. Match eval expression. So that does eval expression, gets the unlocked value, and then does a match on that. So why didn't I do that here, I wonder? Okay, first I'll get this compiling. I'll put that there for the moment, just to get me past the build step. And then I'll take a look at potentially simplifying it. So eval expression to I64. This is eval expression to string. And we have context, scopes, description, and name expression. Quite windy and rainy out today. I wonder if that's actually audible in the stream. Funnily enough, the internet connection isn't getting too hampered by it, so that's good at least. So let's see. In this case, the index is that we want to evaluate is location. We'll call that key. And for the moment, I'll just return an error if there is one. And we'll do a match here. Just do I'll create a new error type here. there's an overlap between the values that are iterable and values that are indexable. So it could be nice to use the same term for both. So only iterable types can be indexed, or vice versa. Only indexable types can be iterated. But that's something for later. For the moment, I will just... I'll do this kind of a hacky approach now, but I'll use no commit comments. Yeah, that's definitely getting through on the mic. So let's see. So I don't have a val expression to I64 yet, so let's go ahead and copy that over. I have so many instances of this error that, or this constructor even, that could well be worth me creating a helper for it. But for the moment, I'll just keep going as is. Not quite sure what's going on there, but let's go ahead and check out the errors that are up along. Can't find value name. So that's that. 480. New val ref with source. Yeah, I don't have that exposed yet. So when it refers to val ref with source in the code, it's essentially a reference or a pairing where a value carries with it the source that it was referenced from. So if you look up a property of an object or index of a list or something like that, when you look up the value, it will carry with it the place that you looked it up from. So for example, if you look up a method from an object, you will get the method as the value will be carried, but it will also carry the reference to the object that the method came from. So then when you call the method will be applied to the object that it was referenced from. So that's the rationale behind some of the meaning behind the things there. Description 450. Oh yeah, that should be raw expression. Okay, let's see where we are now. So still having an issue with the arms. So that's okay, and an integer. This should be, oh, there we go. I think that should be it. Where we are now. So still getting this issue on the parser. Is that to do with the raw expression issue as well? Yeah, I would say it is. Oh, is that going to push me beyond my 80 character limit? It is. That would be I don't like that, but however, should be alright for the moment. So let's see, bind 51. Yeah, so that's an interesting one, because eventually we will be able to bind to an index operation, but just not for the moment. So let's see if this compiles, and if it does, then I'll try and update this to do match eval expression. Just get rid of some duplicated code. Yeah, so that seems to, well, the previous instance seems to have worked. So let's try and, why is there a semicolon there? So let's try this, see if there was a reason it was done that way. Unclosed delimiter, yeah, I need that. this at least, because that's more like a function call. Or 80, so that's no longer found in. Okay, so that's why, because we're holding on to source. Whereas usually we don't keep a reference to the original value, we're just concerned about what the evaluated value, and then working with that. Whereas in this case, we actually want to hold on to the source. Okay. Now, why aren't these branches creating valref with sources? So if I do an integer lookup on a so if I store a function on a list, have I added support for this yet? I don't think so. But if I have I don't think so. I don't have key lookups yet either, so it wouldn't make sense. Okay, anyway, so we don't use match here because we need to maintain a reference to the source for use in object lookups. Yeah, so just to flesh out what I was talking about there, if we have, for example, v1 and we have an inc function and we do something like this, v is plus equal to 1, and we store that in b, then when we do b.inc, this will carry so when we do the lookup of the value that is in inc and it finds that that's a function, it will also carry the value b with the function, so that when the function is called, the value of b will be injected as the value of this. Now what I have, and at the moment the only index lookups will be that, so that's how you'd call that method at the moment. But what isn't implemented is this, which, for better or worse, I guess. So you could implement this, in theory anyway. And then if you did b1 and you called that, then the value of b0 would be incremented. Now, if I wanted to implement that, I would have to update the list lookup so that it returned a valref with source instead of just the value. I mean, it's an interesting curiosity, but not a valid language feature. So I'm going to leave it out, even though part of me would like to see that, but it is what it is. So we don't use that because we need to maintain reference to source. Exactly. So eval context eval index expression failed. Evaluate expression to int 64. I don't like this locat name, but it keeps me within my 80 character limits. So, or it's 79 actually, which I don't think a character limit of 80, or I think a character limit of 100 is, I typically like narrower character limits, but for Rust, because there's just so much, I guess, symbolic necessity. I mean, I even have an indentation level of 4, and it's very easy to creep, when you're using matches and things, it's very easy to creep up to the character limit very quickly. Whereas with something like C or Go, I think you can fairly comfortably use an 80 character limit with an indent level of 8 characters and still be fine. But Rust tends to eat up that space quite quickly for whatever reason. So context eval string index failed. We'll call this I. And what was the error there? So the issue in this case is out of bounds. Let's say out of string bounds I or index. And it's returned as a, oh yeah, so we're essentially creating a new string here. So when you index a string, you get a string back, which is, it's consistent with what happens in other languages like Python or JavaScript and things like that, even though it's somewhat inconsistent with the likes of a list, because when you look up a list, you get the element, you don't get a list back when you look up a list, you get an element back. And in a lot of other languages as well, so more, I guess, statically typed languages, when you look up a string, you get a character back. But the likes of JavaScript and Python Python doesn't have characters as such, not in the same way that other languages have them, as kind of atomic units that strings are made up of. So that confuses things a little. Well, not too much. Does mean that you can run into potential issues with, for example, if you're doing recursion on the, this was my caveat before, was that I was doing recursion on string matching, I think, in JavaScript or something. Well, it was actually recursion on objects and drilling down into nested objects and checking the types to define my, I guess, base edge conditions. But then strings are, whatever way it was evaluating or whatever way I was implementing it at the time, it was recursing into the strings, and because each index lookup into a string, when I was iterating over the string, returned another string as opposed to a character, so I could keep recursively iterating strings indefinitely. So that's one caveat that I know of anyway, of using that approach. But again, if that has the potential of being a valid concern later, then I can always address it later. So let's see. We've got out of list bounds, and context here is eval object in expression failed. I'd love if I could put all of these on one line each, but I need this snafu conversion. Oh well, minor gripe. So next expression out of string bounds will be a leaf error. List index failed. And then we'll have, we've already got and we need object index. Now, why is it doing that kind of a lookup? Is it because it's creating the new value? Like it's creating a new reference to the value. Should I instead be cloning the mutex? I'm not sure. Yeah, I might have to think about that a bit more. And so props get, so the error here is no such key or okay. So let's see. We have new errors here. We that's an index. Usize. Out of list bounds and no such key. And that would be a string. So let's see. It'd be nice to, whoops, did not mean to do that. Oh, why am I doing that again? So, okay, there we go. So it would be nice to say, oh, that's greater than the list bounds, but it could be a negative value as well. Oh wait, no, I can't, because usize is so I'll need to add a test for negative conversion. And I'll probably need to add some extra handling for that. Okay, let's see where we are in terms of compilation. So I might add the negative value lookups in a subsequent commit just to stay focused in the current commit. I noticed that the tests seem to be running somewhat slower now as well. Is that because the interpreter is getting bigger and tests are being evaluated more slowly, or is something else going on, I wonder? For the moment anyway, I can focus on features and then focus on speeding things up later once I actually have some proper profiling approaches. So let's see. I don't think I need a semicolon at the end there. And same there. And same there. So let's see. I'll want to add unwrapping for the failure error variants. And I'll do that now just so that I don't forget them. to see some of the Clippy suggestions there. Yeah, the cast might be an issue. Unneeded return statement. What's that? Line 499. So I can actually just remove those. Oh, I don't like that. That's too... I know if I'm going to be returning stuff. I guess. I feel like it could be difficult to actually see the returns in these scenarios. I think even that might... Like, this makes it a little uglier, but I think it could still be clearer because I feel like removing those returns just makes it a little like I would probably just scan right over that and not realize that the returns are implicit in those areas. So yeah, I think I'll do this, even though granted it doesn't look as nice, but I think it will be a little clearer. Because if you are going to do kind of an implicit return, I think having the value at the bottom with a space above it makes it a bit clearer anyway. Let's try that. And that could probably be changed to an if-let as well, couldn't it? Okay, let's see where we are. Incompatible types. Oh yeah, that should be a return. Oops, where have we got? Line 450 is what I want. Remove that semicolon. Yeah. Makes sense to me. And yeah, like, there's for and against, but to me, that looks clearer. I'm like, okay, yeah, there is a value being returned here. I can see where it's being returned, and if there's errors, they're handled higher up. Oh no, borrow checker. if I want to do it that way, I would definitely need to indent the match statement. Maybe I can do this. Let's see. This is making me nervous. Okay, so I mean, it's not as nice because it's a bit of a redundant assignment, but at least it's working. So let's see. We'll have so I'll call that source val because I tend to I'll have raw source val. And yeah, line 469, which is down here. Okay, so that is the borrow checker satisfied. So I was going to add a comment as to why we were assigning this to a value since it's only used in one place, but I think that would be fairly clear if someone, i.e. myself, tries to simplify this or optimize it later by just putting it in the match, and then the borrow checker will complain. So I think it should be not necessarily self-explanatory, but it'll be self-explanatory when an attempt is made to change it. So let's see. I think next I can do is tests. So source eval value. That's line 28. Oh yeah, I can. Sounds good. Alright, time to start adding some tests and feature documentation. So variables, functions, so I'll put it under indexing. So lists, strings, and objects can be indexed. In fact, I should write the tests first. so that I'm actually writing valid code in this language. So let's see. If I have a file for lookups, yeah, because there'll be range lookups later, and also object shorthand lookups. So I think it makes sense to have them in their own file. So let's see. So that'll be list lookup. And we'll have string lookup. And object lookup. So that's that. So we've got the lookup tests, and we'll also want some error tests because there are a couple of new errors introduced with this change. So value not indexable. Okay, all the new tests passing. That's nice. So if I try to index an integer, new not indexable, only lists, objects, or strings can be indexed. Out of string bounds. So we'll go ABC and index 5. Index 5 is outside the string bounds. Same for list. One, two, three. Now I'm not quite sure the exact location that these will be raised on, but I could calculate them, but I'm just gonna let the interpreter tell me. And then no such key. Now, whether I want to have apostrophes around the string indices, I'm not sure, but I'll just go with that approach for the time being. else do I want? So I want the features file updated, and I want the features, well, I guess both the features documentation and the features test file. So this would be BB2, and I should have checked. So those failed, so that's because the index isn't there, so I need to add some extra handling for the locations. So let's see. Let's say that's the approach that I'll want to do. New location error. This one can be rearranged as so. And let's try that. I wonder if it would be worth my time commenting out chunks of the parser when I'm adding new features, just to make the compilation and retesting faster. But then those chunks of tests will fail, but then I can just skip those tests and focus on the current tests at the time. I don't know, it could be tricky, but let's see. Already defined in the current scope. Yes, that is correct. So features, lookups. So let's just initialize it there at the start and then override it every time. Or that up as well anyway. Yeah, I'll do it like that. In fact, I've called these lookups, but I should probably be more consistent like that. 105 tests, that's cool. So that should be B, that should be B, and that should be 2. And lookups should be renamed to indexing. And now I'll have to address the Clippy error as well for as you size may truncate and may lose the sign. So let's see, do I have a quick suggestion here? From a signed to an unsigned, yeah, that's fine. And then possible truncation. Does it have solutions? I'm not too concerned about truncation at the moment. The sign loss is the bigger issue, but so try inta instead. Let's see. And it'll give a what type of error? Standard convert error. So that'll be a new see. For the moment, I'm just going to do an unwrap. And handle that error in the next commit. Just so I can get this commit wrapped up, and then I can focus on that specific error in the next one. Oh, so I have to, okay. Wonder if there's a little game I can play in the terminal while I'm waiting for the compiles to finish. Should I? Yeah. I'll put that into its own commit as well. Lots of tests got added in this one. Okay, and Clippy is satisfied, so let's go ahead and a small refactor. Shouldn't change any functionality. So that was function called precedence, I think. Yeah. And so I'll leave this for myself for next time to do the try into. I'll remove those unwraps. And remove those. Those will be my cues to address the errors as well. So try into. I'll probably need to do a check up here for if the size is less than 0. And with that, I think that'll be today's stream done. Let me see, negative list index. So the errors there are that the errors don't exist, first of all, and then this, I actually need to handle the error. So that's in a somewhat good position for next time. And I'll also bump the tom-l file again to remind myself to do that. And so there were 6 commits done today, so what got done? So there was support for while, for break and continue, and indexing got added, so that was a nice amount of work done. I can go to index here as well, and yeah, that got done on each of lists, objects and strings because they were all implemented before, and so that's ready to push. And that's a wrap. So nice one. Thanks very much to everyone who joined today and who's watching the stream and the YouTube and commenting and all the rest of it. So it all means a lot. So thanks very much. Talk to you again and have a good one.